guys, it's Jessica from Peace Love Books, and today I'm here with a fun video all about exposing myself and all of the books that are super popular and super hyped that I have not read yet. Some of you might know what I'm going to be talking about. Some of you might have no idea that I'm very embarrassed that I have not read these yet, because a lot of them have been on my TBR for a very long time, or they're parts of series that I start because everyone's reading it and everybody else goes on to finish it, and I'm like, I read book one and then I never finished, even though I might have loved it. But before we get into the video, I would like to thank the sponsor of this video, which is L.J. Evans. After All the Wreckage is L.J. Evans' newest book, and this has a little bit of a spooky element to it because the hero and heroine had known each other when they were younger, and the heroine had a teenage crush on him. He was always there for her, kind of like her knight in shining armor. Now it's a decade later and he has taken custody of his two siblings and he's taking care of them, and his brother goes missing, and she is actually now a private investigator, so he hires her to help him find his brother. His two siblings, though, have actually inherited this ability to have premonitions that come true as well, so he is trying to deal with that on top of his brother all of a sudden going missing. He is having these feelings about this girl from his past, and he's like, I literally cannot do this, because now he has these responsibilities and she is just a temptation he does not want to give into, but now it's forced proximity because they have to work together to find his brother. They are trying to find what happened to his brother, and the last two lines of the synopsis just explain this perfectly. It says, they need to reunite the family instead of breaking one, even if it means revealing secrets that could destroy us, even if it means our future is already written in the wreckage. This has a very unique and emotional romance where they definitely have feelings for each other. They have a very long history, but there are things in their current day lives that are pulling them apart, and they don't want to give in to the temptation of one another. But they're obviously not going to be able to resist that long. So definitely check out After All the Wreckage by L.J. Evans, and thank you so much to L.J. Evans for sponsoring this video. I am going to expose myself on a series that I'm actually currently reading. So I finally was like, you know what, it's time. I've read this author since like 2017, 2018. She had only 2 books out in her current series and had already, I don't know if this series had finished, but I had been a fan of her and got to see her on tour for the last book of the series, and that is the Throne of Glass series. I love the ACOTAR series. I love the Crescent City series. I'm all caught up on those books, but for some reason I could never get past book 1 of the Throne of Glass series. I have now read that book 3 times, and this third time around I'm determined to finish the series, so I'm farther than I've ever been. I am 150 pages into Crown of Midnight, and I'm determined to read the series, but I've not read it, and the thing that is pushing me to read it is the Crescent City series and things that are happening in her books. That's all I can say, but I'm just like, I know people love this series. They're long. The last book's like 1,000 pages, and I'm just like, I don't have time for that. Like, whenever I start a series, I'm always like, great, good, now move on to something else, because I've already tried that author and that series, and it takes me forever to come back and finish. And so I am reading this now, and it's really good. It's not as romantic as her other series, and I know certain things happen to certain characters, and a lot of the beloved characters in the series aren't even in the books yet. So there's so many names I know from people talking about the series. I've not met them yet, and so I'm just like, I know I'm gonna get there, but it's just gonna take forever to, and I've always been dragging my feet. But I am ashamed to say I have not finished this series, but I will in the next few weeks. That's my goal. Okay. The next 3 are all very, 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 very popular contemporary romances. They all are super hyped. They're always all like in the top 100 for months after they come out. They're beloved authors, and I have not read these. I've read books by these authors. I've actually read most of the books these authors have written but one. I have a very complicated relationship with Emily Henry because I loved Beach Read. That came out, I read it at the hype, the peak of the hype, and I was obsessed. I loved it. But then I read the next 2 and they were good, but I wasn't as obsessed with Emily Henry as everyone else was, and so I didn't rush to read Happy Place. It sounds like a trope I would love because they actually broke up and then have to act like they're still together to go on a friend vacation, I think. And I love a second chance romance. I love the angst where they have to like fake date even though they don't like each other, or like they think they don't like each other, but then they have to be like in kind of intimate situations and they're like, well, maybe I'm not over you. I love that, but I'm nervous. Like, I put off books I'm nervous reading if I don't know if I'll love them or not. But as I might be reading Booktubers' favorite books of 2023, possibly might be on that list. Next one is primarily because of how long it is, and that is Things We Hide from the Light by Lucy Score. I read the first book. It was super cute. I gave it 4 stars. I really liked it. Why are these books so long? This is almost a 600-page contemporary romance. I do think that this series was picked up actually, and now I'm like, do I need to read the series now and continue on? I don't even own the 3rd book yet because I'm like, I haven't even read book 2. When am I gonna get to book 3? It's cute. Like, they're really cute small town romances. I had a lot of fun listening to the audiobook of the first one, even though it was so long, and I really don't like long audiobooks. I got it and I read it and I liked it. So I'm just dragging my feet reading this, and I know people love it, but let me know if I should read it. Let me know. And then the 3rd super hyped contemporary romance I haven't read yet is Love Theoretically by Ellie Hazelwood. This is one I'll probably try to get from my library on audio. The problem is with a lot of these, I like to listen to like traditionally published romances on audio after they come out through my library, because like I can get those and I can't get the indie romances I want from my library. So I then forget about it until release day, and then it has like a 6-week wait, and then I just like forget about it. So this one I would love to read. I loved the first book, the Love Hypothesis. Love on the Brain was cute, and her next book is almost coming out, so I'm a book behind, and I'm like, I need to read this now so that I'm not behind on her releases. So this one and Emily Henry, like, I'm caught up on most of their releases but their newest one. So this one, they're rivals and there's fake dating, so this reminds me that I should get this on my Hoopla or Libby, just so I have that and I can read this soon, because I definitely want to read it. I just haven't gotten to it yet. Another super hyped series I feel like I put on every TBR every month and I never get to it is Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber, or I don't know what this series is called. Is it just called that? I love these covers. They are stunning. I bought all 3. I pre-ordered the 3rd one when it came out just so that I could have it in hardback. And does it have anything else? No, just the apple. I have heard really great things, and I read Caraval and it was fine. I read Caraval as an arc before it even came out, and I think that might have been Stephanie Garber's first book actually. Yeah, okay. So she's only written the Caraval series, which is like was not for me, which is totally fine. But this series sounds like it's so good, and I've seen so many people reading them and loving them, and now the whole series is out, so I really have no excuse not to pick it up. So I own all of them, and I'm just annoying for not having picked them up. But it's another, and it's short. Like, these are fantasies that are short, so it's like perfect for me. So I need to read this soon. But I do not read fantasy on audio because I need to really focus when I read fantasy because of all the character names and how many characters there are, and I just get really confused if I listen to an audio. So that's another reason why I'm pretty slow on my fantasy, so need to read that one. I also, this is so embarrassing, so I was reading this series as they were coming out. Like, I read the first book when it released, and I had an arc of this book, and I vividly remember being in the middle of it and I was loving it, and then I had to put it aside for something else. I forget what I had to read, but I had to read something else, and then I just like never picked it back up. And I'm so embarrassed to say I have not finished the 4 Horseman series by Laura Thalassa. When I tell you, this came out in 2019. I was reading this series 5 years ago, and I still have not finished it. Like, I read Pestilence when everybody was freaking out about it. It was after the cover change, because the initial cover I know is very hard to find. She changed the covers and I really liked it, and I remember seeing it, and then Lacey I know was reading these, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, I love this series so much. The 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse, like the first one, she tries to kill him and then he like captures her, and then they fall in love and they're sent to like destroy the world. And this one was really good too, and I just never finished. I have all 4 books. I think it's gonna get picked up too by a publisher. I can't finish series. I just can't finish series. The next 2, next 3, the next 4 are all parts of series I haven't finished yet, which we know. We know, if you're new here, hi, I cannot finish series. I always feel like I had to be reading and recommending new things, and I feel like if I spend so much time reading a series, that counts as 1 book and not like 4, because I can only recommend it as the 1 series. So I have The Inadequate Heir by Daniel Jensen. I have not finished the series yet. I read books 1 and I read book 2, but now I think there might be 4 in this series. I know books 1 and 2 like stand alone as the couples books, but I buy these when they come out, and I like literally, The British Kingdom was one of my favorite books of the year, and I never continued on. So I need to continue on and read this one. This year is my self-proclaimed year of romantasy anyways, so this one's high on my TBR. Hopefully. This also was high on my TBR because this was one of my favorite books of 2022. and I read it in December 2022. I vividly remember where I was because it was the day of like leaving on a trip, and I sat on my couch for 2 hours after work before my flight left where I was reading this book and finishing it because I was like, I have to finish this. I have to know what happens next. The Crowns of Nyaxia series. Is that what this is called? Crowns of Nyaxia. Yeah. I never read this one. It came out last year and I was so hyped, and then I was like, I never got to it because I don't know. I like think I'll love things. Okay, so the next series for sure. Like I think I'm gonna love it so much that I need to save it because I know I'm gonna love it, and I need to save it for like at the time when I need something I'll love, which never comes around because like I'm always wanting to read something I love, but I'm always wanting to like save it for when I need it, you know? And it's long. It's 600 pages. So love this series, but the next one I'm scared of because the answers and the emotions I'm not ready for, and I put off reading book 2 for so long, and I finally read that because I actually started book 2 and put it down because it was really slow, and then I picked it back up and I was like, this is amazing, 5 stars. It is the Daisy Hates Magnolia Park series by Jessa Hastings. Book 5 comes out this month in a couple weeks, and I've pre-ordered it. I'm going to read it, but the problem is I have not yet read, this one's the next one, right? This is where we figure stuff out about BJ and Magnolia. I am not prepared. The first book broke my heart. The second book didn't break my heart, but kind of, because Christian, I love Christian so much, and I just felt for him. And this, I'm worried. I'm so worried. And then we get another Daisy book, and I was obsessed with them. Like this was like books 1 and 2, I can't pick a favorite. I loved them so much, and I'm scared I'm gonna be broken. Like these books are going to tear me apart. I've watched people reading these books cry. I don't want to do that. I don't want to hurt. I don't want them to hurt. I can just pretend they're all happy, and I don't need to be hurting with them, but I need to read these. And the next book that I am putting off because of the emotions as well, that I know everybody loves and has read, and I'm still not reading them, is the Boys Atonement series. I finally read Binding 13. I loved it. This book was so good, and I even have like the floppy paperbacks now from Bloom because they're gorgeous, and then they have the really pretty spines that are all gonna like blend into each other once they're all released, and I've pre-ordered the next 2 because they were 25% off, and these are technically YA, so they're only $15, so they were like $11 if I pre-order them. I was like, yes, of course. But I know Tori and Jess just did their live show together, and Jess was crying reading the next 2 in the series, and I'm like, I don't want to put myself through that. Like, I don't want to hurt. I don't want to watch my characters hurt. But I'm going to because Binding 13 was so good. It's very emotional, very character driven, but you fall so in love with these characters, and I'm really, really intrigued by Joey and Aoife's story because Joey's the older brother of Shannon in these books. Yes. So I'm very, very nervous, but I need to read them. And I just love their story, but this one is also 600 pages, which if it's long, I'm going to put it off. That's a rule for me as well. Then I don't know if this is necessarily like that shocking, but this is one of my favorite authors, and this whole series I feel like is super popular. I have not yet read this series by Elizabeth O'Rourke, where I own these. I don't know if there's 4 and I'm missing one, but these were super popular when she was writing them last year. I am caught up on her new series. I've read all 3 now. That's because I'm reading them as they come out. If I don't read books as they come out, forget about it. Like, I am not going to get to them. So this whole series I've heard amazing things about, and I feel like there's one where she goes on vacation with the boyfriend or her like ex-boyfriend and his brother, and she falls in love with the brother, and I'm like, literally, like that is me in a book. Like that is everything I love in a book. Why have I not read that yet? I think that's this one. So I definitely need to read these. They scream my name. Elizabeth O'Rourke is such an angsty writer. I'm obsessed with everything she writes, and I still haven't read these. So I'm ashamed. I am ashamed. Another series that I think is everywhere that I buy as it comes out because I have friends that love it, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna read it. That is Belladonna and Foxglove, and yes, you guessed it, I have pre-ordered book 3 because I feel like I'm gonna love these, and they're not even that long. Belladonna is so short, but this is another one where I probably would have read it faster if I was listening to it on audio, but I don't want to listen to fantasy on audio because I'm so worried about getting confused. and not being able to like keep characters straight. So I want to read these physically, and they're gorgeous. Like they're stunning. They have like really pretty under the dust jacket. I don't think I actually got the Barnes & Noble edition of this one, but it's still stunning. I think the Barnes & Noble edition's a different color on the front, but they're stunning books. I've heard they're great. They're fantasy, something that has to do with death, I think. Yeah, the third book, the cover's gorgeous, so obviously I want to read these, and I've seen so many friends read and absolutely love them. But again, I think I'm gonna love them, so I'm not gonna read them yet. Okay, I have two last ones that are more specific to me and what I like to read and what people have told me to read, and I'm dragging my feet reading them because I'm nervous, and I also think I'll love them. This one is one that I think most people who know me, have followed me for a while, are like, how have you not yet read that book? Because I love angst. I love when people suffer, and I love when things get messy. Like, I love a good book like that, and I haven't read one like that in a long time. I still have not yet read The Black Swan Affair by K.L. Krieg. This book, I have been recommended to it so much over the years, and it came out in 2016. And listen, she has loved him for as long as she can remember. It says that he came back, and instead of smelling like promises, he stunk of betrayal. He destroyed me, us, the day he married my sister instead of me. But wait, that's already like, oh my god, I need to read it. Like, talk about messy. I love it. So I did the only thing a girl like me in my position could do. I got my revenge. I married his brother. And now we're one big happy family. So she's in love with him, but he marries her sister for whatever reason. So she's like, yeah, you're gonna marry my sister? Fine, I'll marry your brother. And like, obviously you think they're still gonna end up together. I can't. I cannot. And I have had that on my TBR for 8 years now. Oh god, I hope it's not 8 years. That's very embarrassing. It's been 8 years I've had that on my TBR, but I want to read it this year. I haven't yet. And the last one is a classic historical romance. I actually got through some that I was embarrassed I hadn't read yet. I did finally read The Flame and the Flower, which I'm very excited about, and I've read like Kingdom of Dreams, I've read like The Secret, I'm looking at all my historicals here. I've read a lot of the classics. The one I'm ashamed to not have read yet is Whitney My Love. This one is one of the most iconic OG bodice rippers out there. I've had it on my TBR since I got obsessed with historical romances, and it's been years I've been meaning to read this. This one I have to read physically, and I have to read this edition because this is the unabridged version. They have since gone in and changed it with the republication because there is some sexual assault that happens in here in the beginning at the hands of the hero with the heroine, but I need to read this. I need to know what it's about. I need to see what's so iconic about it. I just haven't, and I've been dragging my feet. I've had this plan of doing like an OG historical romance reading vlog for like, no lie, 2 years now. I've been meaning to do this reading vlog with this, and I've just like slowly read the books that were in it for other things because I was supposed to read like The Flame and the Flower and that too. But yeah, I haven't read this yet. I really want to, just as like a piece of history, but I keep putting it off. So those are all the books that I'm very embarrassed to admit I have not yet read, and I know I have a problem and I need to finish these series. I am so annoying, and the fact that I have not finished or read so many of these, and 90% of them, it's because I think I'm gonna be obsessed with them. And I don't know why I do that to myself, where I'm just like, I'm gonna love it so much, so I'm not gonna read it. Make it make sense. But that's all I have. Let me know if there's any books that you have on your TBR that you're embarrassed to say you haven't read yet, and what your reasons are for not reading them. I would like to know. Again, I would like to thank the sponsor of this video, which is LJ Evans. Make sure you check out After All the Wreckage for a very emotional, very unique romance between two people who have a past that had to team up because she's a private investigator and look for his missing brother while trying to avoid their growing attraction to one another. Thank you so much to LJ Evans for sponsoring this video. And that's all I have. As always, thank you so much for watching and have a good day. Bye.